Salutations, mateys. I'm your host, Captain Smashman, and today we have an awesome video. The other night, I stayed up until like 5 a.m., and I was messing around with a few decks, and I was trying to learn a little bit about the new set and see if I could build a deck, and it's crazy what happened. I literally just slapped this deck together. I didn't think about it much. I just I focused on the basics. I was like, okay, I need to get these out. And I'll explain to you exactly what it is in 1 second. Let's go to the deck manager. And I called this deck Passimians SM. And let me explain exactly how this works. You just have 12 Pokemon. There's a potential to switch up these depending on what you have. If you don't have 2 Shaymin-EXs, not to worry. You don't need them. They're useful, but you don't need them. Oranguru actually does a pretty great job in this deck of handling the card draw all by himself. I would say if you didn't have 2 Shaymin-EXs, you could try to get 2 more Oranguru, but you probably don't need them. I don't know. You'd have to think about what basics you're going to replace, because I would say you probably want to stick with 12 basic Pokemon. You could go... you could go with just 10. It's just the risk of you having to mulligan on your first hand is a lot higher. But ultimately, you don't need the Shaymins, but the Shaymins make this... They work with it. Not amazingly, but because Oranguru basically takes care of that all on his own. But they do work. They do what they need to do. Then, we just have item cards. Lots of item cards. So, just in case I didn't cover, 2 Orangurus, 2 Shaymin-EXs, not required, 4 Spindas, and 4 Passimians. Is a Passimian Oranguru deck. There's a lot of reasons for that. A lot of things are weak to fighting. Oranguru's fighting. And, Passimian's fighting. Oranguru is insanely strong. Just because of his ability on its own, and then on top of that, he hits pretty hard if your opponent has any energies attached to their active Pokemon. These are kind of filler, but a couple of Acro Bikes, just 2 Acro Bikes, 2 Big Malasadas to get rid of conditions and stuff, and a little bit of healing just in case you need it. I like to put these in. They're a little bit trolly, a little bit salty. A couple of Crushing Hammers are nice. They're not required, but they're nice. In fact, this is the deck build. I'm going to just show you the deck build as it is and explain how well it worked out. 2 Enhanced Hammers. 4 Nest Balls. A Professor's Letter. And a Random Receiver. As well as... Or, not a Random Receiver, excuse me. 4 Nest Balls, 2 Professor's Letters, 2 Random Receivers, 4 Trainers, or 3 Trainers Mail. Oh my gosh, let me start over. 2 Acro Bikes, 2 Big Malasadas, 2 Crushing Hammers, 2 Enhanced Hammers, 4 Nest Balls, 2 Professor's Letters, 2 Random Receivers, 2 Trainers Malls, no, excuse me, 3 Trainers Malls, 2 Sky Fields, 1 Brock's Grit, 3 Ns, 2, this is a very important card, you have to have this card, 2 Pokémon Fan Clubs. These are a guaranteed way of getting those Passimians onto your bench. And of course, using both the Trainer's Maul for a potential at getting one of those, or a Random Receiver for a guaranteed one of these. All of which are draw-based, except for that one. So all of these are, N, Professor Kukui. Professor Kukui, we have 3 of those in here. And there's a big reason why, if I had 4, I would actually put 4 Professor Kukuis in here. This is what gives your Passimians 1-shot and 2-shot potential on a lot of things that they normally would not be able to 1 or 2-shot. This is really good for last hitting or for one-shotting with your Passimians. Next, we have 2 Professor Sycamores, 2 Fighting Fury belts, though if I had a third, I'd probably add a third, but it really depends. 2 Float Stones, they don't come that much in handy, but it's better than having a switch or some alternative. So these Float Stones, more often than not, I just play them to have my hand empty so that I can use Oranguru. Then we have Healing Scarf. Hasn't come in handy yet. I may swap that for something. But I would say there's a few inefficiencies in this deck. And even that being the case, you'll see just how well it can do. I have a few matches. I played 7 matches last night, and I won all except for 2. One of them was against a viewer. One of the losses was against another viewer. And I lost once and won twice. This deck has beaten, I believe it beat a Mega Mewtwo deck, and I'm pretty sure it beat a Greninja deck. You'll just have to take a look at the footage, and I'll offer my commentary while we watch. Just 4 DCEs and 6 Fighting Energy. That's it. This whole thing is run by the number of draw cards, the ability to use those nest balls to get those Passimians out really quick, and the fact that it's mostly item focused. So item lock decks are very strong against this, but only if they get their item locks played out quickly. Now, let's head on over and watch some gameplay with his deck. Let's do it. Let's do it. So, basically with this deck, we've got... Well, you'll just see. You'll have to see. You'll watch with me, and we'll see. We'll see what this deck do. What this deck do. So this isn't live commentary. I played these matches last night. And I recorded them with no commentary, so that I could record this commentary over the top of them. So I start with a Spinda, and we all know how I feel about Spinda if you've been watching the channel. I love Spinda. Spinda is amazing. I love it so much. I love it so much. This opponent's taking a while to take their turn. Come on, Gruff Lord, you've got it. And the energy. And then we will play the Fighting Fury belt and an energy, a fighting energy. And then starting with the nest balls. Passimian, instant Passimian fielded. Then we're going to toss out Trainers Mail and grab another nest ball. Nope, never mind. Professor's letter. Nope, haha, nest ball, just kidding. Then, we play the nest ball. We have a second Passimian on our very, very first turn. But we're not done yet. 2 more Passimians. Oh, but it looks like one of our Passimians is prized. So, we grab an Oranguru, because Orangurus are awesome. Play the Passimian, play the Oranguru. Play down the Shaymin. Get some card draw up in this game. And this is where you'll see why it's good to have a lot of the types of cards that are in this deck. A lot of the trainers are items so that you can clear your hand quickly, which makes those Shaymins a lot more useful and those Orangurus a lot more useful. It's a good thing. That was our first turn. And I believe we're going to have a second turn knockout. Alright. And a successful coin flip there. Oh wait, no, they evolved. Never mind. The confusion didn't affect. Now, do we put an energy on a Passimian? Yeah, of course we do. We remove that energy. We play a Big Masala? Yeah, we play a Big Masala on Spinda. Oh, and they surrender. Not exactly a great battle, but we won. All right. Just waiting on that opponent to load the game. Call the coin flip. I win. Yes, I win. Jettinger. We got this. And starting with a Spinda, the way you should with this deck. If you could start with a Spinda out in front, or an Oranguru out in front with a Float Stone. You don't want to put an Oranguru out front without a Float Stone if you can avoid doing that. And now coming in with a viewer. Why did I say that? Now we got it. We got the sky. The skies are wide open. We're going to pull out an Enhanced Hammer because it's a guaranteed strike as opposed to a Crushing Hammer, which has a chance to miss. Of course, prioritizing those nest balls all the way home. You need those nest balls to get the Passimians to build your bench up so that you can actually start doing really good damage by turn 2 or 3. You just throw those down for no reason, because that's why the item's full, or the deck is full of items, is so you can just throw everything down and clear your hand so that you can take advantage of the Passimian to make sure, of the Oranguru to make sure that you go through your deck and get all your Passimians on the field. That's the whole idea. Try to keep your hand as empty as possible so that you're constantly able to draw. Playing an Ultra Ball. Not sure what's gonna happen now. Playing an Ultra Ball and coming along. Magneton. Good choice. The problem he's faced with is that he has type disadvantage against Oranguru. Against Passimian. I'm gonna get those names mixed up a lot. They're a couple of monkeys, and it's hard to remember. It's hard to remember because they're very similar Pokemon. So now we'll search for a supporter. We get N. That's a perfect card to have later. We've got a Passimian starting to rear up and get ready to fight. Spinda stalling the game with that beautiful confusion from the Teeter Punch. So good. Such a good card. Very useful starter Pokemon in my opinion. Now he's got a Magneton and a Magnezone. Oh boy. We're in trouble. Alright, throw down our second energy. Pull out a Oranguru. Play the N. And tons of item cards. Should be able to get a lot of cards out of our hand pretty quickly here. An Enhanced Hammer. For Sycamore. Now, if I would have gone for the Sycamore, could have potentially gotten a couple of nest balls and really made a big stink with those Passimians. So now we know next turn we are guaranteed our 3 Passimians on the bench and 1 attacker. So we are ready to KO some Pokemon in just a turn. We have those 2 supporters that'll get us our 2 Passimians. We can play those 2, and then on the following turn, if we need to, we can play them to get Shaymins. We can do whatever we want, really. We can have any Pokemon in our deck played out now. In fact, we can almost have all of them. Almost. Special energy, which is good news for me. I have an enchanted hammer, so we're going to be able to take that out really quickly. Which isn't even really so much about taking out the special energy as it is about clearing our hand so that we can get the cards we need. So we can have our 4 fielded Passimians, our 2 Orangurus on the field, ready to do all of the things that they need to do. Next, tossing down an energy on the Oranguru, because you know you gotta attack with Oranguru every now and then. He hits really hard if the opponent has a lot of energies attached to their active Pokemon. And the Pokemon Fan Club, bringing out the Passimians. It's about to get crazy up in here. It's about to get crazy up in here. Spinda's gonna retreat, pull out the Passimian. He hits for 100 with type advantage, so the final strike is 200 for an instant KO of an EX Pokemon. That is pretty hard to beat. Pretty hard to beat with just basic Pokemon right there. What's nice is even if it's not a type advantage, he can still, with 2 energies, hit as hard as a lot of evolved Pokemon and a lot of EX Pokemon using Professor Kukui and a Fighting Fury belt. He can actually hit for 130 with all of the benched Passimian. I mean, if you think about that, he can hit for 130 while having 150 health, while you're drawing virtually unlimited cards. You're constantly emptying your hand. It's really fast and really hard to keep up with, these Passimians just getting launched into battle instantly. I mean, you'll see in some of the games I've played, I'll have all my Passimians fielded on my first turn sometimes. And in some of them, you know, it's second turn, but a few times I've had it first turn. It's just crazy. I think my opponent's starting to get a little worried. I don't know what he's thinking about right now. We got Tail Whip. It fails. I got lucky there, that's for sure. And we've got a nest ball that we don't need. You know what that means? We'll play and get whatever we want. I don't know what we're gonna get. Well, let's see what we get. Now we've got Oranguru is ready to rock and roll. We're gonna grab a Spinda because you never know when you need a Spinda, and we don't need card draw because we have 2 Orangaroos fielded. So Shaymins in this deck are not required. In fact, I just skipped out on Shaymins because I can get just as much out of having 2 Orangaroo. So there you go. Except that Orangaroo are actually good in a fight, which makes a bit of a difference. And we pop Pikachu for 100 damage. Super duper easy. Lemon cheesy breezy. And Passimian is just rocking and rolling around here. Passimian is just breaking all kinds of face with his hard berries. Yeah, Professor Birch. Oh, getting lucky with that heads. But the problem is, it doesn't matter how many cards you draw on your deck if they're not the right cards. That's something I've learned. If I put too much draw in my deck and then just left empty-handed, I usually end up really disappointed because I'll usually put a lot of time into a deck and then I'll look at it and I'll be like, wow, it's all card draw. I didn't think about strategy at all. It happens. Alright, we're going to try to set up that Passimian with the Fighting Fury belt because the Fighting Fury belt gives us extra damage, which is going to allow us to knock out that break, hopefully in one shot. We'll see. Bringing out that Flaffy with the type disadvantage again. The problem is that my opponent has put a double colorless energy and a single electric energy on a guy who needs 2 of one and only 1 of the other for his main attack. So ultimately that 3 energy is essentially wasted. So that guy played a pretty good turn. He shuffled my hand back into my deck and left me with 2 cards. So I had to give him a pat on the back for that. I definitely had to say well played because at this point I was sweating. I was like, no, there's no cards in my hand. Well, I got a Orangaroo, I guess. But still, I hate having my cards, you know, messed with. So again, a reason why we have almost all item cards. Look at how quickly we can empty our hand. We'll throw down a Float Stone. Wasn't sure where to put it. Might as well just throw it away on a Spinda. It doesn't need to go on a Spinda. Spinda is probably the worst place to play a Float Stone. You want to play them on your Orangaroos if you're using them as a diversion. Otherwise, sometimes I'll play Fighting Fury Belt on an Orangaroo if I'm actually using him aggressively. It really depends on what cards you draw and what you end up getting to pull through. So now we get 2 extra cards with the first Orangaroo, and look, we got a Fighting Fury Belt to drop. We're going to put that somewhere nice. Put that on the other Orangaroo. It's a good place for it. We get to pull 2 Pokemon out of our deck. We're going to skip that. We're just emptying our hand. We don't want to empty our deck because we don't want to draw out. We don't want to deck out before our opponent. So we have to make sure that we don't draw too many cards. So sometimes you'll throw away a draw card just to empty your hand, and then you'll use a Orangaroo to draw 1 or 2 cards, sometimes 3, in place of what that card was intended to draw. You know, so instead of drawing 2 energies, I might throw that away and I'll draw 1 mystery card. It's all just a matter of what you need at the given moment. Sometimes you don't need to draw 2 energies, and you're better off throwing that card away so that you can use a Orangaroo to draw something different. Just how it goes. This deck is like a constant mulligan. You really feel like you have access to virtually your entire deck, with the exception of whatever's in your prizes with this deck. Sometimes a Passimian gets put in my prizes. One game, 2 Passimians. The only game I've lost, the only game I lost prior to playing with a viewer, was lost because 2 of my Passimians were in my prizes, and I had to open with a Passimian on top of it. So there we go. We were only 1 card away in our prizes. I don't think they took a single one, so they conceded. And we're off to another battle. Alright, here's another one. We fought Dark and Fairy type. If I remember correctly, this was a pretty tough battle. Let's see how it goes. And picking heads on the coin flip. Popping out that Oranguru. Great starter. Not as good as a Spinda, but when you don't have a choice, you just do what you gotta do. I would have preferred a Spinda to start with and maybe an Oranguru to follow. She took about 5 minutes to get started in her first turn. I didn't know what was going on. Oh man, she had to start her Hoopa EX out in front. That is a bummer. It happens though. It's happened to me at least half a dozen times. And there's a level ball. I'll tell you what, level ball has nothing on timer ball. Or nest ball, depending on which applies to your situation. And a Shaymin. That's a good one. Here we go. Here we go, MSings247. You got that Shaymin luck. It's gonna go good. It's gonna go great. But I'll tell you what, my Oranguru, he's a mean little guy. He's a mean little dude. Big dude. He's a mean dude. He's gonna be pretty salty. He's gonna be like, come at me, bruh. Come at me, bruh. Professor Birch's observations. Alright. Now, of course, we need a Spinda right now. Right now. First things first. Do I do the Kukui? Do I not? Nah. We're going to throw down some energy. We're going to grab a Passimian and get it started. We're going to throw down a Kukui. Throw down a Trainers Mail, grab a Nest Ball, bring out another Passimian. Done and done. And that's it for our turn. We couldn't clear our hand enough because we drew a little too much energy, a little more energy than we wanted. Which is why there's only 10 energies in the deck, because we don't want to have our hand full of energies, because you can only play 1 per turn. So having 10 energies is perfect because we get plenty of cards that allow us to draw more just in case we didn't get the energies we needed. But having too many energies in your hand makes Oranguru kind of useless because you just can't play the energies fast enough to get to use Oranguru's ability to get more cards. So we got a little unlucky, drew too many energies, especially double colorless. We just threw that down and didn't use it. Just to clear our hand. And there, now we got something we needed. There's 2 Passimians still in there. We just need 1 more Passimian to come out. Gonna take an energy away from the opponent. Put them back a turn. As if they hadn't already been in a bad place. This deck can be pretty salty if it wants to. On our next turn, we should be ready to start using a Passimian, but there's a chance that Oranguru will get used a little bit first, just to warm up. We got Kukui for our extra 20 damage and our draw 2. We're going to use Acro Bike to grab something we can clear out of our hand quickly, which means N does not foot the bill. We're going to put that on that Passimian. And we're going to use Psychic. We got our hand almost emptied, so we'll be able to use Passimian's ability on the next turn realistically, because we should be able to clear out that energy and that item, so we will at least get one more card added to our hand, which hopefully could be a nest ball or a draw card. If it isn't, we'll end up probably using our Professor Sycamore to get the card we do need. And he hits Spinda for 60. Big deal, man. Big deal. Or she hits Spinda for 60. Alright, we are going to search for exactly what we need. We need another supporter card. And in a perfect world, that's not what we wanted. But it'll do. We were hoping for a Kukui. Heal up Spinda a little bit. Use that N to get some more cards. And then everything works out in the end with this deck. Throw down that Float Stone on Spinda so we can get him out of harm's way. Grab some energies. We just need both of them. Yeah. We need them both. So we'll throw one on Spinda and troll a little bit first. We didn't need that Float Stone. We were going to troll. It's always good to troll a little bit. Gotta be a little salty. But then, we do it anyway. And that confusion gives us a huge advantage, so that when we go to put our Oranguru or our Passimians, which are absolutely crucial, we cannot risk losing one Passimian. It just brings the whole thing crumbling down, and we got to search our deck for that Brock with those free Oranguru draws. And then once we get the Brock, we can bring the Passimians back, and then, of course, potentially draw them again. But it's a total hassle at that point if you've fallen off and lost a Passimian or two. Losing one Passimian, you're still an effective attacker, but once you've lost two Passimians, you're better off attacking with Oranguru and Spinda because they're just that much stronger. Well, we're definitely going to plop down another Spinda, but we need that Passimian, and we need that Shaymin. The Shaymin's going to come in handy right now because we could use a little bit of extra card draw. So we threw up that Oranguru to be aggressive with it, but will we use it? We don't have to. We could probably finish off that Darkrai with a Passimian. Darkrai loses an energy. We get an empty space in our hand, which is what we wanted. At some points, you just don't care what the card does, or that the opponent whose energy you just took out might actually be downed on that turn. Sometimes you just do it because you need to clear space in your hand, but luckily for us, he had what we hadn't noticed. He had a weakness removed, or a weakness, what you call it? He has no weakness. which was lucky that we did exactly what we did, because ultimately it would have been a huge mistake if we hadn't, because that hit wouldn't have knocked him out and we wouldn't have been thinking about it, and boom, he would have hit us back. So it's a good thing we took that energy off. Sometimes you just play cards just to play cards. The trick with this deck is just to try to play all your items as fast as possible in the most effective order and in the most effective way you can think of, so that you get to do as much as possible with them while drawing as much as possible, while fielding as much as possible, and doing as much damage as possible. As long as you focus on all of those, you can essentially just play out, even in a wasteful manner, you can just play out everything in your hand all the time. You just have to think a little bit. This deck's really quick. So I'm sure somebody else can probably play this a lot better than I can. But really, it doesn't matter. I won a lot of matches without even trying. I mean, without being as good as, you know, some people. And he's down. Oh yeah. And we got a supporter card we don't need. But on the bright side, our hand is full of cards we can get rid of quickly, so that we can actually draw some more cards. But the thing is that at this point, we're worried about decking out. So we're looking at how many cards we have. We're going, do we have any ends left? We're in big trouble. Ah, we have an end left. Probably. Fingers crossed. I hate how the game just freezes up like this sometimes, you know? Just randomly, just freezes up. Alright, here we go. Come on, Togekiss. You got this. You got this. Not a whole lot was done there. Not sure what that was all about. Now we got a Passimian ready to go with a Fighting Fury belt. We can use a Trainer's Mail to grab the end we needed. We got so lucky with that Trainer's Mail. We were really worried that it was prized. So we've got an opportunity now to avoid decking out. Because honestly, we don't need any of these cards in our hand. We don't need any of this. We have all of the optimal things fielded, optimal builds. We're ready to switch in with an Oranguru that can do extra damage. I mean, a Passimian that can do extra damage. We still have an active Passimian who can do a lot of damage and currently can't be hit by any opponent currently in play, because they just don't have the energy to do it. On the Togekiss, even if they had a double colorless energy, they wouldn't be able to play the fairy type energy that they need, and not too different on that other Pokemon over there, which, see, now he potentially can attack. But even if he knocks out a Passimian, they haven't even contended with my Oranguru yet. My Oranguru's sitting there pretty and fresh as a daisy. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. What's going to happen. Versus Seeker. Pulling out the end. That's good. Dropping the end. And we shuffle our hands back into our decks and draw cards equal to our prize cards. And look at that. I got a Shaymin. Can't use him. Can't really use him. But that's okay. So our worst nightmares came true. He knocked out our Passimian. What do we do? Well, that has 3 energies attached to it. That means that I can do 120 with Oranguru. Not quite good enough. What I can do, however, is settle for 80, play a Kukui, and hit for 100 still. Nope. We're going to forego all of those trivialities. Just hit face like some kind of bully. We're just going to bully him into submission. That's terrible. Oranguru, you're a mean, tough guy. You're really mean. We had all these cards in our hand we could play. We just look at Salamence and we're like, dude, you're not worthy. Oranguru, you're a mean, mean little stinker. It wasn't my call. Oranguru, man. Oranguru, he's all about that solo man combat. He loves the heat of battle. And he's a bit of a lone wolf, lone monkey wolf. Checking to make sure what's in our discard. Looking to see if we got what we need. It's not looking good until we realize that yes, we can in fact down the Salamence with Passimian. Not only that, but we can use Brock to put Passimian back in our deck and get a fresh start. And heck, even the Oranguru can come and play. Take out that special energy, make ourselves a little safer, even though there's no reason for it, because ultimately it doesn't influence the battle because that guy's getting taken down. The only reason we did it was to clear a space in our hand. Why? You ask? Well, so we could play the Shaymin and get tons of cards. Just kidding. No, what we're going to do is we're going to use the Pokemon Fan Club to get that last Passimian so that we can start hitting hard again. That's what we're actually going to do. We're going to get that last Passimian and maybe grab the Oranguru and start building it up again. Start building our castle up again after they blew it all down. Like the big bad wolf. Dragon Strike hits hard. Thank goodness we got that Fighting Fury belt. We planned for that. We planned for that. And the only thing we can think of is try to get that Passimian. Gotta get that Passimian. We only took one Pokemon because we don't want to thin our deck and deck out and lose that way. It's a terrible way to lose. And now, moment of truth. Getting a little scared. Getting a little scared. Not sure what's going to happen next. But gotta do something. Gotta do something. Get that Passimian ready. Yeah, we got a second Passimian with a Fighting Fury belt ready to go. We just need one more energy on him and we are good to go. Hit for 110. And now we know that combined with our Kukui and our Fighting Fury belt, Passimian's going to be able to take down that Salamence next turn no matter what happens. Got to choose a Pokemon to discard. Of course, we're going to get rid of the Shaymin. We don't need it. We don't need it. We don't need anything. Right now, all we need is our man, our boy, Passimian. Carry us to victory. Come on, Passimian. I believe in you. You can do it, man. You can do it. And by Passimian, I don't mean the active Passimian. He's getting destroyed. Our active Passimian is going down, sadly. There's always one more to take his place. Thank you, Brock. Brock's Grit is a great card in this deck. You just have one, you just need one, and you savor it until the end of the game. Every time you end, you throw that Brock's Grit in with the end. And you save it right up until you need, at the last moment when you need to get a Passimian back so you can get a last hit or something. You save that Brock's Grit. It's not a card you're going to use very often, but on the occasion when you really need to bring back a Passimian, it can give you the win. That's how we just won. Brock's Grit won that game, as far as I'm concerned. Passimian too, but anyway, that's it. I hope you all enjoyed the video. I hope you learned a little bit. I hope you can try this deck out and play it yourselves. All you need to build the deck is 2 of both the grass/leaf and the fire type decks from the Sun and Moon theme. So just 2 of each of those theme decks. Any beginner can essentially get those in a day's time and immediately start playing this standard deck. Cards that I might use in place of the 2 Shaymin-EXs would be a Lily and probably potentially a Versus Seeker to allow you to bring back a card like Lily or N or Professor Sycamore in those situations where you would normally use a Shaymin. Those are the 2 cards I would use to replace the 2 Shaymins. You don't need the Shaymins. Oranguru does just fine on his own with card draw, especially if you have 2 of them fielded. It's amazing. So anyways, go out and try the deck. Let me know what you guys think. Leave some comments. If you have any tips, if you have any feedback, if you have any things you think I should change, let me know so that I can change those things in the deck and maybe create an update video on the deck. And as always, stay salty, my friends.